the Rotten Tomatoes score. I don't know if that's, important to you or not. I don't really look at stuff like that, but I noticed it. I was like, look, 100% audience score, 95% Fred. That's awesome.
Over 50 plus critics. You kidding? Of course I look at that and we push
great.
it. We're a little independent doc.
Good.
That's amazing.
Good.
And we just opened in the UK.
Welcome to the Lone Star Play Podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Scott Armstrong. Join me and a famous guest. We discuss their career, life, food, Texas, and everything in between. Let's get started. Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Lone Star Play Podcast. I'm your host, Patrick Scott Armstrong. All right, we have a very special episode today. Okay, it's with Janice Engel. She directed a documentary about Molly Ivins, a very famous journalist and libertarian, Texan, just badass woman who, transformed the landscape, right, of journalism. She worked all over, traveled all over, was a phenomenal cook, spoke different languages, just very cultured, and gave a lot of sort of, conservative, Republican, really just anybody politically, I guess, really, but more, that side leaning, gave him a lot of problems. Just in her writing, she just had this style of writing. Look, need I say more? There's a trailer for the documentary that I'm gonna insert here so that you guys can, learn a little bit more about Molly Ivins and this documentary. It's called Raise Hell: The Life and Times of Molly Ivins. It's by Magnolia Pictures. It's out now. You can see it right now on HULU and other places. You can just Google, try to see it. And again, we had the director on, Janice Engel. So look, I'm not going to dilly-dally too much here. We're just going to get to the trailer. After that, there'll be a short word from our sponsor, Texas Real Food, and then we'll get to the podcast. Okay? So, all right. Here's the trailer.
All right, I have come to cheer y'all up about the state of politics in this great nation. I know you think that it is looking dark and gloomy. Cheer up, it could always be worse. You could be living in Texas.
I bring to you our own Molly Ivins.
Molly Ivins appeared in papers all over the country.
How many legendary print journalists are there?
I'm a Texan. I drive a pickup truck. I drink beer. I hunt. I'm a liberal. So what?
Molly came in like a house afire, making riotous fun of the legislature.
Representative so-and-so has the IQ of an adolescent pissant. I see him in the Capitol the next day and they say, baby, you put my name in your paper.
I accidentally became an authority on George W. Bush. Like the guy who climbed Everest, it was there.
The people who Molly took apart were the right people to aim at, and they knew it.
What's your take on Newt, the draft-dodging, dope-smoking, deadbeat dad who divorced his dying wife?
Molly could be very rough on progressives.
In my opinion, the Democratic leadership is gutless to an extraordinary extent. I had been asked to join the New York Times.
They wanted Molly for the unique voice, the iconoclast, but they wanted her to fit into the times. As we say in Texas, that dog don't hunt.
Damn, it's good to be back home again. One can make a difference in Texas. What the hell they need with one more liberal in Berkeley, California, for God's sake.
Texas has always been the national laboratory for bad government.
Major daily publications were buying her column and not running it.
You bet there's censorship. Anytime you do the kind of work Molly did, there's a price to pay for it.
Molly got death threats, threatening letters.
I think of you as a hateful, lying left liberal.
We keep pretending that the political spectrum runs from right to left. It doesn't. It runs from top to bottom. It's not those people in Washington. It's not those people in your state capital. This country is run by us.
Somebody has got to look them in the eye and speak truth. And she did.
All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the trailer. Now it's time for a word from our sponsor, Texas Real Food. So what we're going to do is just quick, 60, 90 seconds here of me just live on their website, texasrealfood.com. and just showing you some different things about it. You know, that's all I'm going to do. Just live right here. Boom. I'm on the website. So basically, you know, go to texasrealfood.com. You can enter your zip code in, right, to find the nearest place around you that's serving good food. Just different places, farmers markets, butchers, whatever, all that stuff, right? So, but also they have all these other great stuff, recipes, articles, things like that. So just gonna deep dive into here. Look, right now, I'm looking at it, you know, there's a great recipe for listen to this, crispy Cajun deep fried gator nuggets. What? Get out of here. That sounds delicious. The pictures on this are amazing. Breaded. Looks ridiculous. We've got this pico de gallo recipe. You know, look how eating alternative meats can help today's food system. Boom, 10 superfoods you need to have on hand in 2021. Come on, guys. 7 best artisan producers you can source your chili mix from. These are phenomenal articles. Okay, just waiting. Ooh, a wild boar ragu sauce. Oh my God, that looks delicious. Wow. Look at this. Oh, here we go for you alcoholics out there. Spice up the week with this classic Cajun lemonade. Okay, I don't actually know if it has alcohol in it, but you got a lemonade, you add a little something, right? I mean, come on. Just for anybody. Look, it's for the family, for the whole family. Fresh goat cheese jalapeno poppers. I mean, guys, I'm getting hungry. Y'all don't even want to see the pictures on this. Ridiculous. National Pizza Day. Healthy homemade pizza right there. Show you how to do it. Oof. Okay, guys, so look, there's a ton of stuff on there, how-tos, everything you want about Texas Real Food. So please check it out, texasrealfood.com. Ton of great stuff. All right, so without further ado, let's get to the episode, okay? As always, don't forget about the podcast, our YouTube channel. It is now the Lone Star Play Podcast. Okay. It's officially, name change. We have our own YouTube channel, clips, the whole episode. And that's actually the only place you can get clips of the podcast is on the YouTube channel. So yeah, check it out, guys. Please subscribe. That's what we need. That would help a lot. Please subscribe. So go to our YouTube channel, the Lone Star Play Podcast, and our brand new Instagram, the Lone Star Play Podcast. Everywhere else, right? Twitter, Facebook, Lone Star Play. So, okay, guys, let's get to the episode. Thank you so much for listening. As always, this is such a great episode. Oh, and by the way, I get deputized. That's right. I get deputized. So, okay, Raise Hell, The Life and Times of Molly Ivins, Janice Engel. Phenomenal woman, by the way. Great interview. You guys are going to love it. Enjoy. Hello.
Hi there.
How you doing?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for asking. I love this background.
Oh, my background? It's just my it's my office.
I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. What's that on your shirt? Is that a badge?
It sure is. Dang, guy, there's a sheriff in town. We had these made for when we went to Sundance, and it says Raise Hell, Molly Ivins, and it's a really, all the principals had it, but we also had little stars made. We had like 5,000 of them made, and all around whatever festival we were at, it started in Sundance, we would deputize people into, Molly Ivins' posse. It was fabulous. It was about upholding the First Amendment. You solemnly swear. You can take the oath, and I can swear you in.
Really? Let's do it. I want to be deputized. Let's do it.
Okay, raise your right hand.
Okay, I had to think about that for just a second.
I know, right? Mitchell, do you solemnly swear to uphold freedom of the press, freedom of speech, so help you, Molly?
I do.
You are now a member of the Molly Ivins posse, the brigade of First Amenders, freedom rights.
Bam! Wow, what a great start to this podcast. I just got deputized. This is that's the greatest idea. I got to tell you, I just think that's so wonderful.
Oh my God. And it's funny because it was, it's Molly, it's the Lone Star State. we had these badges, but I think do I have my little bit? I have the little. We gave them. We kept giving them out. People kept coming up to us because it became. So can we be deputized?
Yeah,
into
totally.
Molly Ivins' posse, and we would do it. I mean, we're freezing. It's like 18 or 13 degrees in Sundance, Park City, and we go, okay, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to uphold freedom of the press, freedom of speech?
Gosh.
So help you, Molly.
I just love that. It
was great. We did it. We did the whole audience. We would do audiences.
Oh, really? Oh, that's a great idea.
We got everybody on their feet. It was, you know what? It was in true Molly Ivins spirit. You know, she's driving this bus. I'm just blessed to be on her ride.
I love that. That is so wonderful. Yeah, man, that is absolutely fantastic. Well, I feel great now. I'm deputized. So look, my wife, I'm gonna be telling her, hey, listen, I'm in charge now. Right? I'm
Exactly.
Deputized.
You are in charge.
Right. She's gonna be like, yeah, no, I don't think so. I love it. Listen, I've just watched this film and I watched it, I guess 2 nights ago. It's phenomenal. I mean, it's just absolutely phenomenal. The story of her totally encapsulates her. It's hilarious, right? Just her words. I mean, it's just so funny. I'm trying to think before we sort of get into her and the background and everything. I wanted to sort of ask you a quick question. Do you think there's any current Molly Ivins out right now?
Well, Patrick, everybody asked me that question. And I actually asked everybody I interviewed starting in 2012, who can fill, Molly's, size 12 shoes. And, it's the same. There really is nobody who does what she does to that extent. First of all, she was a columnist. So she wrote at the height of her power, she was in over 400 newspapers across the United States. That's extraordinary. But people don't, local newspapers are going by the wayside. It's tough. Yeah. And because that is the purveyor of boots on the ground journalism. So it's hard. So she would do 2 columns a week. It's funny. I had this conversation with Rachel Maddow. We talked about it. And here's the thing. The people who do what Molly Ivins does are the comedians. I mean, this is what I found when I was doing this back in 2012. Everybody would say Jon Stewart, they say Colbert, they would say, the usual suspects. And then as time, because it took me 7 years to make it, 6.5 years, it became, John Oliver, Samantha Bee, Trevor Noah, the comedians. And that I would say John Oliver, the Brit, is pretty astute. He is a deep political walk. And so is Jon Stewart. So is Colbert. Although Colbert is, not the Colbert Report anymore. It's late night. So it's different. But what Molly did, she did all on her own. The comedians have writers' rooms. You have to have the investigative journalistic piece to be able to do the joke. Yeah. So Molly did this all herself. She probably had a stringer every now and then. She also had her chief of staff, Betsy Moon. Y'all, Betsy, if you're listening, because this is coming from Austin, and all Molly's peeps who are in Austin. Y'all, all y'all.
I love it.
Anyway, so who does this? I mean, who does this? There are some young writers coming up that journalists have told me about that have the spirit of Molly Ivins. There's Connie Schultz, who still is in print, she's married to Sherrod Brown in Ohio. She actually won, she was one of the, at the Molly Awards, the recipient of it, back when we first started this project. And she has a similarity in her tone and in her writing. There's a gal named Lauren Duca, who's out of New York, who's got that same wry, she nails them to the wall. Just as Molly would. But she's got that New York undercurrent. Yeah. So there are people, but really, when I am asked this question, what it really boils down to is, if you see my film, which I hope all y'all who haven't seen it do see it.
Yes.
Go to towards the end, there's a lot of protests, and we finished it before Black Lives Matter. Otherwise, that would have been in there too. You'll see on the front lines a lot of young faces. Those are the next Molly Ivins. They're birthing right now. They've got a fire in their belly. The pilot is lit, and this country is being handed to them. It is up to we, the people, and particularly, I mean, I'm getting older, but the younger people, we all look at what just happened. I mean, but we are a terribly divided country. So we all have to do our part, and we all need to find our way back to the table. I mean, y'all are in Texas. Come on. I mean, Molly came up at a time where you agreed to disagree, or you just disagreed, and it didn't matter. You went and had a beer, and,
Yeah.
But she also talked about the polarization back then. She would say people, and this was, of course, in the late 80s, early 90s, Newt Gingrich and the contract with America, which started this polarization, really undercut to basically move the conservatives less be about, yes, fiscal conservatives, but meaning more about social and diversity. It was a threat. It's a threat. It's racist, and always has been. And it is top to bottom. And that is about caste. That's top to bottom. Who's on the bottom?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you got the right skin color, generally chances are you're on the top. So absolutely. Especially in Texas. But Texas is the blueprint for America. How many books have been written about that? Yeah, right. Lawrence Wright just had God Save Texas, came out last year. Gail Collins, As Goes Texas, So Goes the Rest of the Country. I'm probably getting the titles wrong, but there's been numerous. And Molly said Texas is the national laboratory for bad government. Yeah, I love that quote. It's true. But Texas is also, Houston is the most diverse city in America. That's crazy. Texas is a blueprint. It really is a blueprint. And I would say California to some degree, whereas you guys are more red. Obviously, we're more blue. Yeah. But we are a state of immigrants. We are a country. Y'all get a clue. Y'all came from somewhere else, and this country was taken. So, the origin story, that's getting changed too. About time. So I agree. I agree. I'm sorry to go off on my. No, I'm happy to have these conversations. I'm liberal. I grew up in Texas. My mother's from Mexico. She immigrated here. These are conversations I've had my whole life, to be honest with you. So I have no problem having these. Even in my home, there would be disagreements. My father's from St. Louis. My mother's from Mexico City. So, even my father married to, had issues sometimes with the immigration and things. And I remember having in our living room, we'd be having arguments like, Dad, don't you see what, Mom came from Mexico, like, we're your children. We're, my brother was born in Guadalajara, it's like, don't you see what's happening? But even then, there's, I don't know. It's just something about my dad was fiercely conservative, but my father was very liberal on social issues, to be honest with you, in a lot of ways. That's the old Republican Party, which was and came from I think a WASP, kind of American, work hard. Everybody should get a fair shake on some level. And I think that a lot of the old guard of Republicans were fiscal conservative, but socially more progressive. Sure. And that changed because of, Molly talks about it in The Great State. What is it? The triumvirate: machismo, anti-intellectualism, and an overt display of religiosity. And George Bush ran on that. And that's what he did as governor. That was the blueprint. Molly wrote Shrub to basically show what he had done as governor, which was not much because he doesn't like governance. And of course, in The Great State, it's the lieutenant governor who wields the power. And Wiley Bob Bullock was the lieutenant governor who had been a Democrat. He had been lieutenant governor for Ann Richards. It's really interesting. And it is. It is. But anyway, Bush was groomed, and when he became president, she wrote Bushwhacked, and in Bushwhacked she read, "If y'all had read the first book, I wouldn't have had to write the second one." So what he did in Texas, in Texas, he did across America. And then it was the rise of, the religious right, machismo, and anti-intellectualism. I mean, the whole thing, the cultural elites, and yes, there is, if the shoe fits, sure, on the left coast and the other left coast. But I mean, who is against intellectual? Who's against getting an education? I mean, the dumbing down, it's like the dumbing down of America is truly complete. Where people do not realize, and this has always been the case, of voting against their own interests, because they use religion and they use anti-abortion and they use all these, which is really about misogyny. I mean, really, I could go into that.
No, I'm happy to have these conversations. That we have these conversations all the time. Absolutely. That's what this film sort of, opens up. It makes you want to have these conversations, which some might call them tough. I don't really think they're tough conversations. I think they're just necessary conversations. I guess they may be tough at times, depending on where you stand. Yeah. What isn't tough? Exactly.
What isn't tough? I mean, unless you're born with a silver spoon in your mouth, and even the middle class, what isn't tough?
Yeah.
We've been gutted. So I agree. Thank you for saying that. These conversations are needed, because if we don't have these conversations, we will not find our way back to the table and find common ground. And we have a shared humanity. We are one species. Stop the tribalism.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Of course. In Texas, it's, I remember I was never very political, to be honest with you, my whole life. Even living in Texas, it wasn't even something, I don't know. It wasn't even something I really even knew about my friends, to be honest with you. I don't know. It just wasn't a part of my life. Just whatever I did. I traveled a lot. I moved around a lot. So that was what I was concerned with. But really around 2015, just like a lot of people in this country, it just sort of got thrown, in our faces, and the divide just became so apparent. And, I will say this, I'm in Austin, so maybe I'm in a weird little bubble here in Texas. But I don't know, the divide is there, but it's also not there in some ways on a day-to-day basis, if you know what I mean. I don't know. Do you experience that same thing, or how is it for you?
Well, I live in LA, and I don't live in Orange County. And I know that if I crossed the line, there is a different vibe. And I live in the part of LA where there's a divide even in LA between the East Side and the West Side.
Yeah.
And it's all, and LA is very segregated. It's a lot like Houston, and, our country is kind of like that. What's, good for the North and the East is no good for the South and the West. I mean, we have a massive country.
Absolutely.
And it is tribal, and it is, so I've spent a lot of time in Austin, and this is now, it's on 8 years, but when I first started in 2012 till until the film came out, 2019, I spent a lot of time in Austin, living there for a couple of months at a time at different points, living in the Briscoe Center for American Studies, the Dolph Briscoe Center for American Studies, in the archives were Molly's papers. Thank you, Don Carlton. Shout out to the executive director and his entire wonderful staff over there. And being in Austin was like being in Los Feliz in LA. It's very similar, or it's like being in north parts of Northern California.
Interesting.
You are in a bubble, and plus Austin, you guys are with the tech. You're getting more like San Francisco, but also Austin is a creative town. So
100%.
music, writing, less so about
food.
It's foodie land. So that's very similar to LA. I felt completely comfortable. Now, if I were to go, and I've, been to many places in the States, I was a showrunner. I used to make lots of doc series and stuff like that. And I've been to, different areas and all over the country. And I remember when somewhere, was it 2011? I was in Kentucky. I was doing a pilot or something for somebody, and the election, Obama, the second term, and I was in an Applebee's because it was the only place you could eat. Like after
shout out Applebee's.
Applebee's, it was like 9. I don't know. It's like we had to get there before 9. It was I had to eat, and we were at the bar, and we'd had a few drinks, and it was like right before the election. Every television was the game, whatever the game was on, and I started drumming a little thing on the table. I was there with my DP and the grip and another producer, and I started drumming, like to Obama, Obama. And they looked at me and they said, "You're going to get killed. They're going to string you up."
Yeah. Oh man.
But it was so clear to me that I was in, I don't want to say enemy territory because we do have, but in people who definitely can't even have a conversation.
Sure.
They can't, and they don't get that they're voting against their own best interests because they have been fed, well, because of a lack of education. I do believe it's because of a lack of education.
Yeah, it's possible, for sure. I will say this, gosh, I mean, I've grown up with nothing but conservatives in Texas. Most of my friends, and even to this day, a lot of my friends are very conservative. And it's been a hard time over the past 4 years, to be honest with you, to even maintain a lot of those friendships.
Have you been able to? Have you been able to?
Yeah, absolutely. For the most part, look, it's on somebody else's to leave from me, because I will sit down and have the conversation with you. Now, what I won't do is scream and yell and name calling. That I won't do, but I will have an open conversation. You say your opinion, I'll say mine, and we'll talk about it. I don't see anything wrong there. I always want to keep that open. I mean, it's my job too, right? I talk for a living. Like I'm open to conversations probably more than maybe a normal person, but it's still been difficult because there is a divide, and people take. I think what I've noticed too is that people take personal offense. So if you say something bad about Trump, they think you're saying something bad about them.
Yeah, they personalize it.
Right. And the other way too, I'll say, if somebody says something about Biden, they'll take it personal, like you're saying something about me. And, I think that's something we have to sort of separate. We're not the candidates, but I get the divide. I get why there's tension as well, because some of these conversations haven't been had before. We've just wanted to keep it down, right? Make America great again. When was it great again? Right? Like this whole concept.
Yeah. Exactly. America has had moments. Then one of the biggest moments was when FDR basically created, the New Deal, which basically put America back to work. The second was, at least that I know about, because my dad was a veteran, may he rest in peace. My father fought in World War II. My parents came up through the Depression. So that was much closer to how I grew up. So we had that knowledge. And I grew up literally in a historical bubble of progression because of post-World War II. There was no middle class before World War II. You were poor. There was a trading class, but not the World War II, post-World War II created the middle class and gave everybody a leg up. Yeah. And there were people on top who didn't like that so much. And so they consistently worked towards doing that. But at the same time, you had the civil rights movement, and that was LBJ took that on, and, progress. I got a great education in a public school because post-World War II, my parents they were from Brooklyn and the Bronx. They picked where they wanted their kids to grow up, and the start of suburbia, where the number one school district. That's how they picked where we would live. Yeah. And it was a very different world. And I got the benefit of that. But then, and there was divides before. I mean, if you go back and you see some of it in my footage, that footage of the kids, of the black and white footage of the riots, that's Chicago. That was the Chicago 7. That was, and there was riots all the time. Kent State. That's what I grew up around. The protests of the Vietnam War, Nixon, and there was this vitriol, but people could come to the table and still talk and not demonize each other. And, I think I think part of the big problem that we're in right now is this.
Yeah. Wow.
It's all the
A
social
phone. You're
media.
holding up a phone. Yeah.
I'm
just for
holding
those
up an
listening. Yeah.
iPhone, and it's a smartphone, whatever you have. It's this.
Yeah.
And we
smartphone.
are a very disconnected world, and we don't talk to each other. We get everything.
How funny is that? We're disconnected, but we're so connected, right? In another way.
Well, that was the irony of of Facebook. I used to.
So crazy.
It's the disconnected network. We are.
Yeah.
And then if you see, there's a lot of docs that have recently come out that have been actually, the one about Cambridge Analytica that came out in 2019. But what is it called? Oh my God.
Oh yes, I did see that.
Oh,
what
my
was
God.
that called? The
My
hack?
God.
Was that something? No, that
Great
wasn't
Hack.
it, right? The Great Hack. Yeah.
That, and then most recently, The Social Dilemma.
Yeah, The Social Dilemma.
There's a short doc done by great doc filmmaker and philanthropist Leslie Iwerks, whose grandfather was Ib Iwerks, who co-created Mickey Mouse, called Selling Lies. You can see it on iTunes, and it's about the same thing. And it lays out really what happened in 2016, how these young men in Macedonia in a little apartment complex started. It's cash for clicks. And they created all these stories that were patterned towards, if you are a person who's more leaning towards the right, if you're a person more leaning towards the left, and because of the algorithms. And that's what The Social Dilemma is about too.
Yeah.
Everything is patterned. So if you are addicted to social media, which a lot of people are, you will get what feeds what you want to hear, what you want to see. And it's because of advertising. And the whole thing needs to be regulated. But deregulation started under Ronald Reagan.
Yeah. And they're trying to do it again. They're trying to do it again, right? Yeah.
Well, we need to have some sort of regulation. And now it's a global issue.
Absolutely. It is curious how they deal with these, let's just say, the privacy issues of it, right? Because there's more than just one issue with it. But, Europe, for instance, right? The way they handle these social networks over there as opposed to here is a difference. I just had a guest on recently, it'll come out soon, but they are the CEO of Funware. And that's the company that ran... that he was hired. The company was hired by Brad Parscale of the Trump team to run the Trump Team app. So they were in the news recently about the data and what was being taken and that sort of thing. And I had this conversation with him, and he kind of just he said a lot of shocking things. I'll be honest with you. I'm excited for that episode to come out. But the one thing that struck me as odd is he's just like, look, God, how do you put this right? I don't want to misquote him. So this is paraphrasing him, but basically like, if you don't like Facebook, Twitter, these things, just leave, right? They're going to take your data. There is no such thing as privacy anymore. You can forget about that. Those days are gone, and like, tough luck, bud, sort of thing. And I really don't think that's the right approach for us to have. I guess I get why he's saying it. Right. But just as a consumer, that seems like awfully, that's not what I want to hear from the people running this stuff. Like, right. Like, it's scary. It's a little scary.
It's an arrogant position.
Arrogant. Exactly.
It's an arrogant position. And, things change. Things change all the time. Is he going to say that when AI basically takes over completely? There is a certain level of responsibility. And, I think, everybody's distracted. So I do have a glimmer of hope because of what happened in the election, that democracy, though hanging on by a thread, is holding the line.
I agree.
My concern is the amount of how many people believe these conspiracy theories. There's always been bubbles of it, but now it just travels so fast. And so
it's ridiculous right now, right? It's like,
plays on people's fears, and people have a lot to be afraid about. And why? Because of inequity.
Sure.
It is the root of the rot. And and people don't, it's, it comes down to his ideology. I mean, I'm married to a Danish person and they have a social democracy. And I've had arguments with certain people who I respect, but are very right. And they have a completely wrong picture because they believe what they're told. And
sure. About socialism, you mean?
Oh, about social democracy. Yes. Socialism has begotten such because
I lived in Spain. I'm a resident of Spain. Like I lived in that system. My wife's from there. I get it. Yeah. People have
that was a fascist. That was fascist until
Franco.
Until Franco. Right. Franco got a pass during World War II, which is kind of
total
amazing.
Joke. Total
Isn't that
absolutely. It's ridiculous.
It
well, because he helped. I mean, look, I learned a lot living in Spain. I like my wife's family and stuff, like the stories they told me because they grew up in that era with Franco. I mean, in fact, they know that more than anything else, to be honest with you.
Sure.
And the stories they told me, Franco was he was helping Hitler. I mean, that's all that was happening. He was helping, and that's how he got a free pass, and he was letting everything slide and helping along the way, and it's absolutely just horrific.
Yeah, it's there's a window. People don't get it. And what's interesting is you look at what's going on all around the globe. And this has been a period where, as Molly would call it, I hate when they use the F word, the sound, the sound of jack. What did she say? She said the sound of jackbooted, the F word, jackbooted fascism. And she goes, when they dropped that word, because she had such great faith in democracy and in the dream of what this country is. This is a really young country, compared to we're a really young country. So she had great hope because she was a First Amendment warrior, and she really loved what the founding fathers, but she said they left out, half the population, women, and people of color, and anybody else who is different.
Yeah.
However, the notion of what it is and the possibility, and that's what America has always been. And now we've now lost that place. And I also think it's somewhat of a fable, that whole idea of the possibility. Now, I will
utopia of sorts, yeah.
A utopia, and there's been pockets, sure, but I think that my wife is Danish, and I'd say they're doing it pretty well over there in Copenhagen. People love it. They pay high taxes, but they have a massive middle class. When you have a massive middle class, that's when democracy is healthy. That is healthy middle class, healthy democracy.
That's the majority of people. So that has to be healthy. I agree. Right.
Right. And so we're the only first world country that doesn't have single payer
healthcare. Oh yeah. It's ridiculous.
It's insanity. And so unfettered capitalism, which is what we have, is just as bad as communism. It's
100%.
Ideologies, and it's basically there's a few who get it all on the top, and the rest, that's it.
We get nothing.
So I think when you have a bigger middle class, you have much more say in it, and people do pay high taxes. But listen, they have a what is it, a 7.5, not even 8-hour workday. You have coverage, 3 years coverage. If you have a baby, men and women, you're taken care of when you die. There's all this stuff that is folded in. Here's the thing. We pay taxes for our police. We pay taxes for our fire department. Unfortunately, education has been gutted. But why would we not pay for healthcare, welfare, and human services? It doesn't make sense.
I don't get it either. I'll never get it. I'll never understand people who don't support it.
Because they're not educated about it, and whomever has thrown suspicion on those in power, and they're going to take away your rights. And
they have the misinformation, right? That's what they're being fed of what it is, right? So they have this false idea of what what that healthcare would look like here. So they say, no, we don't want that. And I guess that's really where we need to correct is fix that message.
I think it's about education, But
yeah, of course, the long-term solution, of course, but just short-term, educating them on what it means for that position. Because I think we need healthcare,
terrible.
yesterday.
Well, look, I think this pandemic is gonna.
Yes.
I just think that there's always going to be issues. There's always going to be problems. But the more that we the people, come together and lay it out and have our voices heard, when they start saying fake news and we're moving towards fascism. Because when the press, the fourth estate, is about a checks and balances.
Yep.
And so, it's definitely, Patrick, it's definitely systemic. But like I said, I have hope. I look at all those faces on the front lines. I look at how many people came out, look at how many people got on phone banks. And now we've got, Georgia.
Oh my God.
Georgia on my mind.
Georgia on my mind. Wow. Yeah, absolutely. There couldn't be more apropos there for sure. Yeah, that's insane. Well, they've kind of gotten themselves in a pickle here because, you're claiming everything's rigged, but at the same time you're saying, go vote.
Well, he's just so
right. Like
I'm like, yeah, do more of that because
you're right. Exactly. Yeah.
Hey, he just raised, what is it? 200, he who shall not be named. He just raised $200 million
yes.
For his comeback. People don't get that he's going to use that to pay off
his debt.
It's not all of it. Listen, New York he's not. We'll see what happens.
Campaign debt, right? Like that's what the money.
New York is going to be coming. They're going to be coming for him.
Oh, I hope so.
But he has divided this country, and there are a lot of people, and it is about race. It's about race. It's about religion. It's about all those things that play on people's fears, and
sure.
And it's what's really scaring the powers that be in corporate, and I'm talking about the darker side, is that by 2046, when the next census is, we will be in the minority. We of the Caucasian race, we will be in the minority, and they're scared to death of that.
Yeah, that's it's not a bad place to be. I mean, I don't know why people are so concerned.
Because they've held it for so long. Because patriarchy has held, white patriarchy has held the power for thousands of years, and there's going to be a shift. They're going to need to share, and they don't want to share.
Yeah, absolutely. World's closing in around them. It's a lot of times. Sometimes it's difficult to get a conservative to say this, but if you push hard enough, you really get to the truth of the matter of why they don't want people here. Because at first it's always, security, protect the home, they go through these lists of things that any rational person would agree with. Right. But then it gets to the truth of, I just don't want their culture mixing here. They've got to learn how to live here with us. And then you're like, okay, I see. That's what you're really concerned about. And that's where I think we need to start having the conversation.
So I couldn't agree more. That is exactly it. And in fact, I've traveled to many places, and I love seeing how other cultures are.
Exactly.
Bear with me.
Yes.
Look at how many wonderful things we get in terms of food. Jesus Christ!
Oh my God, absolutely.
But
yes.
It's an old belief because of white privilege and patriarchy.
Yeah.
And they're petrified of losing that control, and they really do believe that they're superior, which is eugenics.
Yeah.
Eugenics started here in the States, not in Germany. They actually came here to study us, the Nazis.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's like, I mean, I'm glad I learned that information, but that's horrible to learn, right? Like, oh my gosh, that's right. So horrible.
Yeah, get rid of the weakest link. Get rid of the weakest link.
Crazy.
Yes.
And what's the irony there is they're the weakest link. If we were to look at it that way, I mean, just using their model of judgment, I would put a mirror back on them and say that's actually not how we want to progress as humanity, Well,
I have hope for younger people coming up. I really do.
100%. Well, you know why? Because there's a lot of mixed people like me and my brother.
That's what they're afraid of. And that's the point. See, younger generations mix. They don't care. They're mixed in terms of race. Yep. They're fluid. Yep. They're mixed in terms of their sexuality.
Yeah, I speak Spanish. I speak English. And my mother taught us all that growing up. It was important.
In terms of gender, there's much more tolerance. I see it. I teach, so I see it in my students. There's much more of an openness that way. And why not? And frankly, I mutts are stronger. That's all I'm going to say.
Absolutely.
What?
I mean, 100%.
What does it matter? I don't get it.
I don't know.
And I never have gotten it.
Yeah. I'm all for just people, what makes you happy? Okay, great. Go do that. That's, we all deserve to be happy in life. And I don't see the point of trying to stop other people's happiness. I just don't understand that. I just don't get it.
So tell me about your show, the Lone Star Plate. I when I heard that name, I thought, oh my God, are we going to have some Texas barbecue? We're going to have a couple of shots of tequila.
I've done that all on the show for sure. We just usually we always talk about food at some point in the podcast. I usually leave it at any point it'll pop up. If it doesn't, I bring it up at the end. But that's really it. I mean, we highlight Texans, great Texans. And go over whatever project they have or their career or whatever it may be. In this case, yourself in this documentary, and we're having this wonderful conversation. So what I love about this podcast, it opens this up. But yeah, that's really, I come from the food industry. I had a food truck here in Austin.
What was that? Sorry.
I had a food truck here in Austin for 5 years, serving Spanish food.
Nice. Where was it?
Gosh, we were all over, but I was on Rainey Street for a long time, for a couple of years. I was on Lamar, South Lamar and Barton Springs.
Sure.
By Zilker Park there for a couple of years as well. We were all over, West Side, East Side. We traveled, and of course as well. Great stuff.
That was one of my favorite things about Austin was the food trucks. And unfortunately, because of so much of development, all my favorite little trucks disappeared. There was one guy I would go to for my breakfast tacos in East Austin, and it was called Old Viejas. Old Viejas. Something like that.
That sounds familiar. I'm not just saying that.
It was on 6th and just past the freeway. Oh my God, he was in a little dirt lot. It was where there was a coffee place there called Progress Coffee. And they're gone too. But then I think he got a brick and mortar.
Right on. Wow, good for him.
Old Viejo, something like that. And every time I come to Austin, I go because I know they do have a place there still on 6th, but now there's a theater there. They're inside there, but they also have another. The whole family built it up from That's across awesome. The border. Best breakfast tacos I've ever had. And I mean, Jesus, Austin's a foodie town, totally like LA. LA is a foodie.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely.
Although right now we're not very foodie.
Yeah, same here. I mean, they're trying
cooking
here.
Cooking at home. Nobody's going out. Everybody's actually realizing how much money they save.
Yeah, for sure. It's tough. I mean, I'm divided on the issue. I'm not going to lie. A lot of my friends are suffering right now with their businesses, and this is why I tell people all the time. I've been talking about it since the pandemic started. We've had lots of chefs on to talk about their businesses, and the same thing comes up, which is, look, all these places want to close and do the right thing and be safe, but the problem is the government's saying close, but we're not helping you. So you got to still keep paying rent. You still got to keep paying this. You still got to keep paying everything else, right? Your outgoing costs are still 100%, but now we've limited your incoming by drastically. And I just can't get behind that. And it has absolutely frustrated me beyond belief that the government has not provided, security and a system for these businesses that are closing left and right. Right.
Look at devastating. Federal response and who is in charge and the federal response. And where did that first package go to? It lined the pockets.
Big company, right? Like just people that don't need it.
The pockets. It is the biggest scam, and that the people don't get that is just shocking to me. My wife is a baker, so she was an animator.
Oh, really?
She was an animator, then for years, and then she became a cake decorator. And now she's a baker. She works at with a great place here in LA called Friends and Family. Give them a little shout out.
I love that.
And they're still, thank God for the bakery, because they also had like a little bakery with a cafe, and and they couldn't sustain that. But the bakery is like kicking ass. But it's tough. It's really, really hard. And there is a lot of hypocrisy going on, because yes, they don't want people outside dining. Well, because then what happens is you have people who do it right, who do tables that are, 8 to 10 feet apart.
Exactly.
Yes, you're not going to have the numbers you had, but you still make an effort. But then you have a bunch of restaurants that don't do that, and people are like, no masks. And that's a few always ruin it for everybody else. But here's the thing, and because my wife says, because she's Danish, when the whole thing went down, she goes, why didn't they just stop? Why didn't the bank stop? Why didn't everything just stop?
Exactly.
Like put a moratorium on like business.
Yeah, absolutely.
It may be, but we can't. The world is too big. And
well, that seems logical. That seems like common, right? Why would we do that? Why would we do what seems like the right thing to do?
Exactly.
It would be a miracle, to be honest with you. Like you said earlier, I'm very hopeful for what's coming in the new year with the new administration coming in, and I can't tell you how happy I am about it. And I think there's going to be some changes. At least that's what I'm keep holding on and trying to, these same conversations I keep having with friends of just keep hanging on, man. Just help is coming. Just keep hanging on. You can do this. And I know the holidays are going to be tough for a lot of people. So my heart's out to everybody that's dealing with that right now.
Well, it's going to be a lot of people dying because people did not people didn't do good practices during Thanksgiving, and it's going to be a nightmare. For sure. I think Christmas is going to be bad. We've been in this situation since March, and I have a Holocaust education program I created, it's an ongoing thing. And I look back. I mean, I've made mini docs on a bunch of survivors, may they rest in peace now, but because I've heard and I've read so many stories of people who are in these situations. America hasn't had this on her doorstep. We haven't had genocide, war, thank God, these kinds of things. Yes, we've had definite racism and a form of slow genocide and an incarceration of an entire group of people, particularly males. Black and brown, but we've not had it really on our shores, and so there is a disconnect. And having talked to survivors of the Holocaust, and you're upset because you have to you can go to your market, but you can't go out you can't do whatever you can't do. Try like living like behind somebody's wall in a little cubby space where you have a crack that you get to see the daylight. And you live like that for 3 to 5 years to stay alive. I mean, what about the people who are living in refugee camps? But they're, we are, I liken it back to MTV. I want my MTV, and I want it now. I want it, and I want it now.
Yeah.
Oh my God. God forbid anything really, like if a war does erupt in this.
Yeah, right. You're absolutely right.
Wow. So, but let's talk about food. I love food, and I'm a total foodie. And my producing partner, Carlisle Vandervoort, shout out. She's living in she's the Texan. I'm not the Texan. She should be on this show. She's the Texan. She's a total foodie too. Y'all.
Y'all.
We ate, oh my God, fabulous food. Last time we were there, which was South by Southwest, we went to this place in, oh my God, I need to, I always do the eater, what's
the list must eat list and stuff. Yeah,
and
totally.
It was, and Ellen Sweets, if you're listening, Ellen's in Texas. Ellen is, she was a food writer and really close friend of Molly's. Hilarious stories. Ellen Sweets, and she's total foodie, and she turned us on. Where's the place that you can pick your meat, and it's a butcher and a place to eat? It's kind of out towards.
Salt and Thyme.
That's one. There was another one too.
There's a WWII.
Yes.
WWII is amazing.
Phenomenal. And then, of course, what's the French place that I love that's been there for years and years and years? East Side, all the way over. Justine's. Is it Justine's? Justina's?
I think it is Justine's.
Love that place. I love it because it's open late and has a really great bar. And it's just, and the music is great.
I've been there, to be honest with you.
Is it Justine? Justina's? I think
maybe
so.
It's not. Maybe it's
Oh my God. Let me think.
Justine's, Josephine's. Oh man. No, it's not Josephine's, is it? It does. Oh man.
We're gonna get
Juniper, not Juniper.
No. We're gonna get crucified for this.
I know, they're like, Patrick, you should know every place in Austin.
Yeah, it's Justine's.
Justine's. Okay, yeah, I thought that's what it was.
It's just.
I've heard of it for sure.
Yep. Austin's favorite steak frites and pork chops. It's fabulous. It's been there forever. And yeah, Justine's Brasserie. Oh my God, very late night dining. That 4710 East 5th Street. Y'all.
Bam.
I love it. I love it because it's old school and it's just it's real community. The food is great and the bar is great and they have an outdoor area. I don't know what they're doing right now. I hope they're okay.
I'm sure they're doing
Ellen
takeout or
Sweets
something.
Turned me on to that place, and her daughter Hannah used to be one of the chefs there, and then she went back to school and she's getting her PhD.
Right on. Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Wow, what a change! Geez, that's
and science, some sort of science.
Oh, wow.
Alchemy, cooking, chemistry.
Look, there's a lot of science to what your wife does. That's why I don't bake, because it's a science.
Well, so I love to cook. I love to cook, and I like cooking. To me, is like it's like dancing. It's like free form, it's creative, right?
Yes.
If you know the basics, you can just you can screw around.
You can do anything. Yeah,
you can do anything. But baking is chemistry.
Exactly.
And she always says, no, you can play. I said, no.
Not when I do it. Every time I try to eyeball it, nothing, right? My bread comes out hard as a rock. Exactly. Nothing's right. It's like, okay, not doing that anymore.
Cooking is more forgiving. Cooking is
way more forgiving. Yes. Yeah. Which I need because I screw up a lot. So I need that forgiveness. I need to be able to bring it back, as we say. We can bring that dish back. You can do this, you can do that. You can get it back to some way. What's your favorite thing to eat, just as a whole? Just.
I like lots of food. I mean, it's like when people ask me what's my favorite movie. I don't have one. I love. Well, I love ethnic flavors. I really do.
Like your last meal. I mean, that sounds dark, but like if you were to have your one last meal, what would you eat? You had to pick something. You got to bottle, right? It's got to come down to something.
Oh my God. I mean, there's so much. I can't. I mean, well, look, if we were on an island, it'd have to be sushi because I'd have to spear that fish. I love Japanese. I love, oh my God, I make a slow cooked pork shoulder bone in Belgian ale. Oh, baby doll. You cook that sucker for 8. I cook it for 8. Slow cook in a Dutch oven.
Slow cook.
Slow. And then I will let it sit overnight and then I'll cook it down and then I put it over polenta or roasted potatoes. I mean, that's a great winter dish.
Sounds delicious.
Oh man, it just makes you want to cry. I love I just made a dip. I love a great my father's favorite was bouillabaisse, so I used to make him.
Ooh, wow!
In France during the war, I took 2 days, made him a bouillabaisse. I love something called zarzuela, which is a Spanish fish stew.
I never even heard of that.
Zarzuela.
Zarzuela.
Zarzuela. Zarzuela.
Maybe I've had it. I don't know.
You probably have.
They got a million They got a million. Well,
I
they do
love
fish.
stuff-
They do fish stews all over the place.
I love fish stew. I
Yeah,
love
me too.
that.
My wife makes it all the time, actually. All the time for the winter. Like that's one of the 4 winter dishes that is made is a fish stew.
I really like Spanish cooking. I mean, I love tapas. I love that whole idea of picking and just, oh my God,
Yes.
Just shrimps and garlic, gambaetti.
Gambas al ajillo. Yeah, it's
Oh my God.
I do that. I do that dish perfectly. To be honest with you,
Champignon, same thing. I love that idea, and olives, great cheeses, great meats. There was a period I wasn't vegetarian for years, and then I brought fish back in, and then there was, I don't know, there was just suddenly I had a crave. My parents passed, and I had a craving for pork. I hadn't eaten pork in 25 years.
Wow.
So I went, there's this little place in my neighborhood that's Dora and her mom own. It's a little taco stand. And I went and I had 2 carnitas tacos. Oh my God.
we're just like.
Yeah, I know, but I don't do it too often. I mean, I go in and out, but I do, if it's well cooked, I just, my last meal, geez, that's really hard.
I feel like this point you'd be like, you know what? I'm not even gonna eat.
I made the other night. We're doing down. Because I have a big yard and I had a garden, and I've been growing Swiss chard for 10 years, and finally it bit it. So I don't have my own Swiss chard right now. I have to replant, and so I had to go buy Swiss chard. And I made a very simple, and I love this. It's you can do a potato kale sausage soup, or you can do a Swiss chard and white bean soup. I combine them. I do a Swiss, because I like, if I'm going to do kale, I'm going to do Tuscan kale, but I did Swiss chard, Great Northern beans, and sausage. And I get these, there's a place called McCall's. It's a butcher here in my neighborhood. And I get a fennel thyme sausage, and I did a garlic paprika sausage. Seared them up. I started with a bacon base. I mean, it's meat. It's not vegetarian. You can do a vegetarian version.
Sure.
Not quite the same. But I do that, and I made it with chicken stock, and a little bit of red wine when I did my onions, and I just little carrots, Swiss chard, just steamed at the end, Great Northern beans, potatoes, chunks, the sausages. It's a hearty soup, and I shaved some pecorino romano on it.
That sounds delicious.
It was good.
I mean, you pretty much just, anyone listening to the podcast will be able to recreate that dish from you just saying that,
easy.
which is great.
Well, that's what's cooking. You can do that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That.
Sounds delicious.
I love those in the winter. I love those kinds of, stews or soups that are not too thick, but thick. I recently made a cassoulet. I made a cassoulet, but I didn't do duck confit. I was like, I did chicken thighs, bone in. Always leave the bone in, more flavor.
100%. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it all comes from the bone. That's where the flavor is coming from. Oh, that is interesting. Well, you said earlier you were a vegetarian for a long time. That's definitely a conversation I have on the podcast a lot about vegan vegetarianism. And I get the reason that people go towards it, to be honest with you. But something that we promote on the podcast a lot, because I've actually had farmers on as well, regenerative farming. So there's actually an environmental way to farm and do it right. The thing is, no one is for factory farming. That's what's ruining food and ruining, it's inhumane. It's the environment. I mean, there's just nothing good about it. It's horrible for you. You put it in your body. I mean, it's nothing good about it. But regenerative farming and doing it that way is actually, it's a balance. It's just a nice balance, and taking care of the environment and taking care of those animals. And, so I think it's still possible. I think everyone really just needs to choose what's right for them, right? That's at the end of the day, that's the best way to do it.
That's true. I mean, Texas, you guys eat a lot of beef, a lot of cow. A lot here. A lot of beef. There was I watch sometimes, occasionally I'll watch food docs, and of course, Hero Dreams of Sushi, which is food porn. It was brilliant.
Great. That's phenomenal.
Chef's Table, come on. It's like, because it's beautifully shot. Those are documentaries about the people.
Yeah.
And they just had one about the lady who does the Texas barbecue. She's like 90 years old.
Yes.
That made me cry.
Yeah.
It was so moving, but to watch what she does.
That is like a pit master right there.
She's a pit master.
Yeah, she is.
Oh, what was her name? Trudy? I can't think of her name.
No, that's it, Trudy. Amazing. Yeah, I just had a pit master on like a couple weeks ago. Just a great conversation. Just talking barbecue with someone you wouldn't think would be but you're just like, it's an awesome thing to talk about. And then to see her, like what she's doing, absolutely. Those shows on Netflix, I do nothing but support those things, because that turns people on to good food, and knowing that it's accessible to you. Yeah. That's the key. Is it not, knowing that it's out there is one thing, but knowing that you can have it and bring it to your table is what's going to turn people on to eating healthier, and which in turn, better, and in turns better for the environment, the economy, everything, right? There's a domino effect.
But it's also the ethnic cooking. I mean, America is
that too. Yeah,
we are a country of immigrants. And Padma Lakshmi has a show on right now, The Flavor of the Nation, and it's on Hulu, and it's a doc series. And she really digs in, pun intended. She really does dig into our multicultural United States, and it's incredible.
What makes it awesome, right? Like
it's what makes it awesome completely. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It really does. The baker just came home. Maya, I just gave friends and family a plug.
She's like, thank you. Yeah, she's like, thank you.
Baker.
No, that's hilarious.
This is a podcast from Austin, Texas, but it generally is about food, but it's about Texas, and it's about we're talking everything from politics to food. And I told them that you were a baker and that you work at this. We were talking about the pandemic and how it's really taken its toll. So what'd you guys make today in the bakery?
Swedish pepparkaka.
What is it?
Swedish pepparkaka.
Sweet. Oh, they're making Scandinavian food. Swedish pepparkaka. What is that?
That's the little pepper nuts,
Oh, pepper nuts.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And some Christmas hearts and some other cookies, almond cookies. We're getting ready for Christmas.
Yeah. Nice. Well, good luck with everything.
Thank you.
No, that's awesome.
It's a great bakery. They have an incredible bakery. I mean, I went over there the other day and I got I always say, what should I try now? I had a pistachio croissant that was the bomb. They had a halva, like halva.
Yeah.
You're Jewish or you're from the Eastern Bloc. Halva.
Me? No, I'm not. I have friends that are Jewish.
No, I'm saying if you are out there.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah.
A croissant with halva in it. It was phenomenal.
Gosh, that's something you really can't get too much around here in Austin. Yeah, I was just gonna say that's like the one food you really can't get too much, like some good Jewish food. I guess there maybe is a couple places.
Well, it's not. Halva, I think probably comes from. It's made with sesame, so it probably comes from.
It could be like Lebanese or Turkish, maybe, or something.
Turkey, the Middle East, maybe Maya. Where does it come from?
It's they use it in
Greek food too.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean,
that
tahini,
makes sense.
It's from sesame.
Yeah, like tahini, exactly. Yeah,
but it's sweet, and there is a group of gals, a couple of gals out here who are doing it that make incredible halva, which is chocolate chunk halva.
Oh wow!
Oh my God! It's not like halva. Like if you are Jewish and grew up in New York, and your family would get halva, like when they went to get on Sunday morning lox, and all the other Eastern European. There was always halva. If you go into a Middle Eastern market or an Armenian or what, you'll see they have chunks of halva. But this is the halva I'm talking about is not it's not super sweet. It's delicious, and of course it's vegan, it's gluten free, and it's it's elitist made.
That's hilarious.
Because it's elitist made. Just made better for you. Doesn't have carcinogens in it.
Oh gosh. Well, that's important for sure.
That is
well, Janice, let's I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but let's definitely just finish off on the movie here real quick. I don't want us to, first of all, I just got to say real quickly that the Rotten Tomatoes score, I don't know if that's important to you or not. I don't really look at stuff like that, but I noticed it. I was like, look, 100% audience score, 95% Fred. That's awesome.
Over 50 plus critics. You kidding? Of course I look at that and we push it. We're a little independent doc.
Good.
That's amazing. And we just opened in the UK.
Boom. Nice. Okay. Oh, and you did the podcast with Matthew for Factual America. So yeah, and they're over there in the UK. So that's great. So now everyone else over there will get to see it.
Oh, I do want to tell you about something that is very Molly Ivins related.
Yes.
And it is something that your audience needs to know. So Molly was an amazing cook. She was an amazing cook. And she used to have these big dinners and dinner parties and would spend sometimes days. And she had a cooking with Ellen Sweets. And I'm going to give a plug because there is a book. And it's called Stirring It Up with Molly Ivins by Ellen Sweets. And it has recipes and stories of Molly's cooking, hilarious stories of them cooking. I won't give any away. And recipes. I make Molly's Texas chili.
Nice. Okay. Oh, I love a good chili recipe.
There's no beans in that chili.
Yeah. No. This Texas chili. No beans. No beans in Texas chili.
I got to come up. It's from Carlisle. When I said I'm going to make Molly's chili, and I said something about pintos, and she said no beans.
No. Yeah. No. Yeah.
Yeah. And she goes, go get some real chuck. She goes, don't get any of that lean. She goes, go get some real meat.
That's true. You need some fat.
It was hilarious, but I do. And Molly used to put a beer. She used to put a couple of cans of Shiner in her beer.
That's smart. That's smart. That's smart right there.
It's called Stirring It Up with Molly Ivins by Ellen Sweets. And Ellen Sweets is an incredible raconteur and very funny. And she lives in Austin and somebody you might want to talk to. She's,
absolutely. I already wrote her name down 100%.
I'll put you in touch if you like. She's great.
That would be awesome. Yes. We would love to have her on. That would be an amazing conversation. Because this has been amazing, Jen. I got to tell you, this has been just such an unbelievable conversation that I've had with you today. Just, this is why I love doing what I do, to be honest with you. I get to talk to amazing people doing this. This is just great.
Thank you, Patrick. I had fun too. It's great.
Right? It was fun.
Where are we? Look, I used to have my breakfast.
I love that. I used to eat right in the beginning when we've done over 100 episodes. I used to eat in the beginning and stuff, but then it became like people didn't eat on the other end. They stopped eating, and it became like, okay, this is I'm being weird now. I thought I was being too weird, but I'm all about it. I'm all about it. Go for it. I encourage it. If I would have known, I would have brought something out myself. No problem.
No, because I did because we're in the stay in place in LA. I did our shopping. I went at 8 this morning to go before there's a mess of people. And
smart.
And then I came back, and then so I basically poured myself a little bowl of just granola and some fresh blueberries, raspberries, and pomegranates. We have a massive pomegranate tree in our backyard.
Really? I love pomegranates.
We had probably 125 pomegranates. There was a fight with the squirrels and the tree rats.
Wow. I lived in Granada.
Oh.
So city of pomegranates.
But we got into juicing. We've learned I learned how to juice.
Nice. Look at you.
Recently. And it's great. You get these big ones, and on a hard surface, we did it all. I felt like Lucy and Ethel in an episode of I Love Lucy. I massaged the pomegranate on the hard surface so you can hear the little seeds going.
Yeah.
Breaking up. It's really satisfying.
It is. It's like breaking the bubble things, right? Like
completely. Yes. And then you put it in like a big bowl in your sink. Of course, put an apron on, and I got into, I split it apart. I was pressing those seeds. My hands were in it. Because I eat with my hands. I loved it. Yeah. And we got a lot of juice, and I would take a small, like I'm saying 2 to 4 ounce glass, like little of just pure pomegranate juice every morning. It was like a bowl, forget coffee. It was like, boom. Pure
I'll
energy.
have to try that.
It was
I don't know
really,
if I've ever done that.
but from fresh squeezed, it was amazing. And then we also have a massive fig tree in our backyard, which is from Celesta figs, which are from Texas.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I
An
got a fig tree in
old
my
tree.
backyard too. Yeah, I love figs. That's underrated
We love
fruit.
figs.
Yeah.
Why is it under? I don't get that. They're
People are scared of them, I guess. I don't know. I think they just don't know.
Foreign.
Most people just don't even know what they are.
It's
to be honest
foreign.
with you.
It's foreign.
Yeah, it's foreign to them. It's like,
Foreign.
what is this? Yeah.
Oh my God.
love it.
I when our figs come in, which is usually like, first week in August, and they're Celesta, they're big. They're not the mission figs, which are good, but I think are almost too sweet. These Celestas they're purple and they're deep burgundy red when you cut them open. I make fresh sliced figs on a piece of toast.
Yeah.
With some almond butter or just butter. Yeah.
Almond butter. My wife loves that stuff.
Oh man, fresh fruit on top of that is so good. I'm going to fresh pomegranate seeds on top of almond butter.
Boom. Yeah, look at this. You're making dishes right now. You're putting together a tasting menu.
The tasting menu. Yeah. Yeah. We're gonna make our fig jam because we get, the tree is so big, it's enough for the squirrels, the birds, any critter, and humans. I have friends come pick. I've given to restaurants. I mean, we get over thousands of figs. And so this year I could pick 200 easily in like 10 minutes. So we picked them, and this time we cut them. We cut off the stems, and we just squashed them down, and we froze them because we knew we were going to make the jam. And now our local hardware stores run out of the mason jars. There's a run because everybody's canning. So I think we have 24. So we're going to make it, and we always give either we do a spicy fig jam or we call it Celesta because the Celesta fig jam from Two Rivers. It's the name of a production company called Two Rivers.
Sounds great. Look at this. This sounds awesome.
Patrick, send me your address. I'll send you a jar.
Oh my gosh. That's okay. Don't say that if you don't mean it, because I will. I will want that fig. I'll eat it. I love it.
And I'll send you the spicy one because we put some ginger in it. Just gives it a little.
Ooh, yes. That's a great idea, by the way.
Yeah.
That's a smart idea. Yeah, I love that. Oh, absolutely. Well, now I'm excited to get some of this fig jam. Yeah, I'm not going to share it either with anybody.
Oh, share.
All right. A little bit. I'll share.
At least with your wife.
Yeah, of course. Well, she's actually in Spain right now with her family. Her father's not doing well, so she's having to be over there with him right now. So I'll in spirits over FaceTime. I'll share it with her that way.
Okay.
So. Real quick, Janice, let's tell people where they can still see this movie.
Okay, great.
Because I saw it through the screener you sent me, but for everyone else, like where would you go see this movie right now?
So if you're in the States, you can go. Anybody, you can go to www.mollyivinsfilm.com, which is Molly MOLLY IVINS film FILM.com. And if you go there, you will see in the States it's streaming on multiple platforms. If you have HULU, it's free.
Oh, nice.
But you can rent it, you can download it. In the UK and Ireland, which is where it just opened, it's through Modern Films. And you can get a link to them through www.mollyivinsfilm.com, or you can go to modernfilms.com. And there's it's streaming through Horizon and a bunch of other platforms there. And it was also in theaters. And of course, they've had the lockdown again, but now the vaccine, so maybe it'll be opening sooner. But I actually came to you, Patrick, through the UK, this whole run that Raise Hell is on.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
We are. I want to just tell everybody, it's really hard to make a documentary, and we're like the little engine that could. Molly Ivins, I don't know any other film that's had this kind of staying power, save for maybe RBG. Again, two great women who had something
Phenomenal.
to say, something to share, and something to
Yep.
teach, and about upholding democracy specifically and justice. we ran, once we got picked up, we got world premiere at Sundance. South by Southwest was a huge homecoming because it's Molly's stomping grounds, and we won the audience award. Numerous film festivals, several more awards. We got picked up by Magnolia Pictures. We got released. Actually, our release date was Molly Ivins' 75th birthday, and nobody realized it. I realized it like a week later.
Really? Oh my God.
No, well, before it happened, they gave us the dates, and I'm looking at it a week later. I said, why is that date familiar? And I was like, oh my God, it's going to be Molly's 75th birthday. So I always say, who's driving this bus? She is. So we rolled out the film on her birthday, her 75th birthday. She rolled out her own film. And it played for 18 weeks in theaters from Alabama to Alaska. That is extraordinary for a small independent doc. And it's because of who Molly is and what she had to say. And the fact is, how many documentaries make you laugh?
I mean, absolutely. Yeah. This is it really is a phenomenal documentary for not just that reason it makes you laugh, but you're learning something. I learned a lot. It was very intriguing. It was like a good story. It was almost moving, like Molly telling a good story in a lot of ways.
Well, she's a Texan.
Yeah, absolutely. True Texan. I saw that she was born in California. Is that true?
Yes, she was, but because her dad during World War II, her dad, he was.
I wasn't born here either, but I was born in Omaha. I lived there 6 months and came here. So, but I call myself a Texan.
Yeah, she called herself a Texan.
Like her. Yeah, exactly.
They settled in Houston. Right after she was, I think, maybe 15 months old when they.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, same deal.
But so it jumped so as the staying powers, it jumped the pond, and we premiered in the States in. August, September, it opened 2019. Although we did Sundance in January of 2019. I mean, that's a long run. And then we were about to do the educational part of this and COVID happened, but then we got picked up and we just opened in the UK in October in the lead up. Again, Molly's driving the bus, the lead up to the 2020 election here in the States. So I am humbled by the staying power. And I am humbled by Molly Ivins and that I get to share her with y'all.
That's fantastic. And the UK loves Texas. So, right.
Yeah.
They're going to love this. Yeah. They love Texas. Wow. That's awesome. Wow. This is so amazing. I know this has been such a journey for you, Janice. So I'm just very happy that this is, gone the way that I hope this has gone the way you wanted it to. Right.
What, your podcast?
No, just the journey with doing the documentary.
Beyond anything I could have ever imagined.
Yeah.
I never even thought I'd ever get into the Sundance Film Festival. I was like a little engine this is actually where we edited the film. I edited the film for 5.5 years on my own and then brought in Mo to finish it, Monique Zavastowski, to finish it with me. We're lean and mean, a tiny team that made this film.
Love that. Well, that should give inspiration to anyone else out there that's trying to get a project going, right?
Follow your gut. Stick with it. Don't lose hope.
Yeah. That's awesome. Wow, great words. Well, is there anything else, Janice, that I'm missing? We told how to see the movie, right? So we got that, we got that out. Anything else that we didn't cover that you wanted to say?
No, I just want people to learn, I would love for people to keep sharing with each other. We're in really difficult times and we really need to learn to listen to each other and we can agree to disagree. I mean, yes, there are people who have conspiracy theories, which I really don't have patience for. But maybe I need to learn to understand why they believe those things. That's a hard one. That's a hard one to grasp. Yeah. But we are really, y'all, we are one species. We have one planet, and we've got to find a way to recognize each other and celebrate each other for our differences. That's what makes us human. We have a shared humanity that we need to really start embracing. We only have one planet. Y'all who want to go to Venus, have fun with that. Just saying.
I love it. No, absolutely. Gosh, that's hilarious. Look, I mean, there's news that just came out that supposedly like, aliens are here and they're just waiting. So yes, we need to come together as one species here.
I've been to Area 51. Now, come on. Of course there are. They walk among us.
They walk among us. I think I know a couple.
You've met those people. You know the ones who walk among us. You know the ones who are walk-ins. You've met them. We've all had those thoughts. I'm telling you, you ever go and there's somebody there and you can see the bubble over everybody's head.
You just know. You just know.
Yeah. You're not going to say it. Don't say it. I can see the bubble. They walk among us.
That is so funny. Oh gosh, I love it. Well, Janice, this has been absolutely just a wonderful conversation. I know our listeners and viewers are going to just love this conversation, and really appreciate you just taking the time and being honest with the everything. And this was great. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to not say too much and screw it up.
Thank you, Patrick. I had, this is actually one of the most fun podcasts. I love talking to Matthew. It was great. And yes. I have a tendency to go on. I get passionate and I can do run-ons. So I apologize if I did that, but I really do. I love the back and forth. And I love that we talked about food, dude. Oh my God.
Right. I learned from you. So this is why I love doing this. Cause I can always learn from somebody.
Yeah, I like the back and forth and this, that kind of a conversation and getting to talk. I love talking about Raise Hell, but I love talking about other stuff. And I'm glad that we talked about a variety of things going on in the world and things that really we're all dealing with.
Right.
I think that's really important. So thank you for doing that.
Absolutely. It was my pleasure, Janice. This was completely my pleasure to do this. And again, I just really appreciate the time.
The Lone Star Plate podcast is produced by Texas Real Food. Go to texasrealfood.com and you can search your city for stores, butchers, restaurants, farmers markets, and more who are using fresh, artisanal, organic sources. It's a fun site that brings all natural options all together. I hope you enjoyed this episode. For more information, go to thelonestarplate.com. I'm your host, Patrick Scott Armstrong. Until next time.